Okay, ladies, I think it's about that time. We're going to call this meeting to order. And Paula LeBlanc has agreed to pray for us this morning.
Let's bow our heads to pray. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much that we could all make it here today. Thank you for your protection over us. Lord, we lift up those who've had problems with flooding with these rains, and we pray that if there be people amongst us that need help, that you would help us to find those people and be able to lend them a helping hand. We thank you that we could come today and find out what's going on with our guild and learn some new things. Thank you for all of these people and for the friendship that we have with one another, and most of all for our Savior Jesus. We pray in your name. Amen.
Thank you, Paula. Well, hello there. Things are getting back to normal. I see smiling faces, and it looks so good. So glad. For a bit this week, I was afraid we were going to have another cancellation, but thank you for coming, and I'm so glad that you made it. And please, let's keep those who have flooding in our prayers, because there are those who are struggling right now with flooding, and it just breaks my heart. I know so well from Harvey how that works. Fortunately for us, Pine Island Bio is behaving at this moment, so only at this moment will I say that, and we hope it continues. Again, we are recording this meeting, so when you do your show and tell, be sure and talk into the mic. That's the only way the recording gets the sound, so it's just lips moving if you don't talk into the mic, so just be sure and do that. All right, you were sent your meetings in the April email that you received for the newsletter, and the financial report was also in the April newsletter. Were there any corrections? Anybody have anything that needed to be corrected on those two items? Okay, those will be filed for audit. Okay, Susan Pennington, where are you? Oh, there she is. Here she comes. No, Susan Pennington, yeah. Oh, you're helping her. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So tomorrow we'll have our May workshop, and Susan Cornell's going to lead that workshop and tell you about it.
And with Dot's assistance, because we had a lot of fun last October learning how to make these bowls out of canvas, heavy canvas. So this is one of Dot's bowls. It's cotton duck, and 2 layers of it. Here's a bowl. We're going to go with this size for the class just because it's a little easier to manipulate, and finish in a day. So everybody will go home with a bowl. This is a smaller version and with a little origami flower on it. And I'm showing these to show you can make these bowls in any size. The principle is the same for whatever size you're doing. So if you learn to make this size tomorrow, you can do large or small, just depending on what you want to try. And the idea is you make the bowl with a background fabric, and then when your bowl is covered and stitched so that it has form, then you add the decoration of your choice. And some people don't even decorate their bowls. They're just happy to have it in the fabric that they chose to work with. And you start, and I'll ask anybody who is taking the class, we'll just do a little demonstration after this meeting. If you can stay for about 15 minutes, we'll show you, you can do some homework tonight. You have to fuse together 2 pieces of cotton duck, and they'll be in your kit with Wonder Under. And then you fuse your fabric onto the fused cotton duck. And then you'll be good to go in the morning. So we'll start the morning with whoever hasn't fused, they can be fusing, and we'll do a demonstration of the various steps. And there are instructions in your kit.
And wanted to tell you about the exciting things to come. In June, I have to figure out the month, our own Jean Aguilar will be doing our presentation at our meeting, guild meeting, and a workshop on the following Friday for wool embroidery. She's gotten some spools that I think are really cool. And you can see her samples up there, and you can sign up by putting your name on an envelope. If you have a check, you can go ahead and pay. But please sign up so we know how many. There is a kit. The kit for tomorrow's class is $5. The kit for Jean's class in 10 is $10. And then in July, we have our luncheon that's on Saturday, right? On Saturday. And so we will not have a workshop in July. Okay. While I have the mic, I just want to quickly thank y'all all for praying for my son. He's doing better. He's out of the hospital and at home recovering. So thank y'all for praying.
So glad to hear that. Okay, we're going to have some special committee reports. Cindy, if you'll be first. And she's going to tell us, Debbie was not able to be here today, so she's going to tell us about the quilt show coming up. And this is May. Quilt show is in 2022. It'll be here before we know it.
Yeah, 2022 sounds so far off. I don't even think we've settled into 2021 yet, but it is time for us to be getting volunteers, and we want to plug people in, especially to these big, not big in a whole lot of work, but these important roles that we can't do without. We have some people who have come forward. Jenny Beaumont is going to take care of our vendors this time. Susan Cornell is going to once again do the quilts for sale. The block challenge is going to be chaired by Carolyn Slack, so have your ears perked up for that. She'll be giving you information on what fabrics and all the details for that. It's always a lot of fun, and we get a nice one or two. This last time, I think Dot and them put together 2 quilts out of all the guild blocks from the challenge. Dot Collins is going to once again take care of all the things, layout, and she's like NASA. You know, the logistics of getting people where they need to be in a quilt show is amazing. And I have to take Tylenol, but Dot knows how to do it, and thankfully she's doing it again. Lisa Johnson is going to photog, so she'll be snapping all that beauty. And we're talking about, what to do with all that work that she does. So if you've got an idea, if you're like, I don't know about a CD, but hey, have y'all heard of such and such? There's things that you guys know about that we don't, and we're always open, for ideas on what to do with that finished, edited product. So see Lisa if you've got some ideas about that, but she always does such a good job of snapping and organizing, and that's our history right there, and it's great to look back at those quilts. We need somebody to take care of the raffle quilt. If you don't know what that means, get with Debbie Richardson, and she'll let you know, or get with somebody who's done it in the past. They'll let you know what that means, but it entails taking care of the raffle quilt, getting it out there to the public, and getting tickets sold for that. We've had those at other guilds. We've taken them to local events like First Thursdays out over by Catherine and Company and such. It's a fun thing, and it gets our quilt and our name out there, raises some funds. Intake and distribution, we need somebody for that. What else? Oh, we've begged and begged and begged for somebody to take the boutique, and we understand it's a huge undertaking. It's a lot of stuff to store. It's a lot of things to take care of. And we haven't had anybody step forward. And in some small groups, there was some chatter of, well, maybe we just table that for a show. Absence sometimes makes the heart grow fonder, so we are going to table the boutique and see if it revives itself in 2024, unless there's somebody like right now who's just yearning to take that job. Come on, y'all, don't fight over it. Okay, yeah. So if you want to volunteer for something, maybe something you've done in the past, something that a friend of yours has done that you want to get in on, please see Debbie Richardson. Just shoot her a text or an email. She's on the roster, and she'll get you plugged in with that. You want second VP right now too, or later? Okay. Also report on my, let me put my second VP hat on. It's another thing, you guys. Like, we are always willing for other people to help out with stuff, and so we don't have quite so many hats on our head. We're very welcoming with the volunteer thing. But as second VP, I have people plugged in to every month that we'll be having a meeting in 2022. I'm waiting for contracts to come back in and some details to be finalized. But you guys have some of the best speakers and workshop leaders on tap for 2022. So clear your Thursdays, clear your Fridays, make sure you have good internet, because one or two of them might be virtual to be able to let you still have some home time, maybe not get out and travel so much if you're coming, I know some people come from Lake Charles, and then also to give our people that work during the day the opportunity to be in on some of these lectures, trunk shows, and workshops, and get in on some of the virtual stuff that everybody else is hopping on right now. So stay tuned, and I'll give you all of those names and what the workshops are about. But I did take the poll that a lot of people participated in on Facebook and went by that to what you want and who you want to have. So thank you for letting me do it.
Thank you, Cindy. We can look forward to 22. Carolyn, you want to come talk to us about the block contest? Or challenge, or whatever you call it. Yeah.
Block contest. And it is a challenge. Oh, gosh, I had a cough. Excuse me. Good thing it was just a sliver left. Okay. Our theme for the upcoming 2022 quilt show, the block contest part, will be Gone to the Beach. If you've heard of, you remember Gone to Texas? The people from Tennessee would leave and put a sign on their house, Gone to Texas. Well, we are gone to the beach because the theme of our show is Life's a Beach. The block size will be either 12 finished or 6 finished. You have your choice. The theme will be anything beachy. In September, I will have a fat quarter packet for sale of background fabric. And if you want to participate in the block contest, you will need a packet of this background fabric. Depending on the price of the fabric, it will be either $2, but probably $2.50. So think about bringing the correct change. And as far as our theme, Gone to the Beach, it'll be anything beachy and, flip-flops, a margarita, a beach umbrella, swimsuit, anything that you might see at the beach. And any colors, the brighter the better. And it can be pieced, and you may just want to do a pieced block in sea colors. Or it can be applique, machine, or hand. It can be embroidery, hand embroidery, or machine embroidery. So there'll be, lots of opportunities for creativity. And in the packet with the fat quarter will be further instructions and such. 12 finished or 6 finished. Oh, well. Thank you. It's something that I picked up because somebody needed to do it a long time ago, and it's an easy job. It's not difficult. It's just an easy job. Yeah, and I can be a cheerleader. I can do that. Y'all know that. I've been cheerleading in this guild for how many years? Since in the 90s, early 90s. So, okay.
All right. Thank you, Carolyn. The packets will be ready in September. All right. Well, I have good news to announce that I had someone step up to volunteer to be hospitality chair. Dawn Rotman. Thank you, Dawn. So we are going to have our luncheon in July. I was beginning to think we were going to have to cancel it, but she stepped forward, so I appreciate that. It's always good when somebody says, well, I'll help with that. It helps. And believe me, this group of ladies, if you step up to do a job and you need help, just ask, because anybody's willing to help you. And I'm saying that because since we're not going to have the boutique, if somebody really wanted to do the boutique, I would help you. And it was great last year. So, we can work together. So please volunteer. We want you to participate. Our board met this morning, and we went over quite a few things. We talked about a lot this morning, but we got a lot discussed. So I want you to be watching, and be sure and watch your email, because I'm going to be sending out a survey on several items. So just be watching for that, and it'll be a way that you can put your voice in on what you would like to see happen. So just wanted to give you a heads up on that. All right, our standing committees. Kathy, you have anything you want to report? Or see you at the table back there. Well, I'm hoping, me and contractors are. Yeah. We're glad to see you today. We're glad you're back. Okay, and for those on the watching, Kathy can always use more help on the community quilts, and we still have a lot left over from the pandemic. So she has a lot of tops that need to be quilted, so see her to do that. Paula, our membership. How many we have today? Yeah, if you're a new member, stand up. All right. Yay. Yay, we're so glad to have you, Michelle. All righty. Very good. Very good. So 2 new members today, Michelle and Donna, and we are very glad. Oh, and we have a visitor. And you are? She's a former member. Okay. All right. Well, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. Okay. All right. Is there any unfinished business that we need to take care of? Anybody think of anything? Any new business? Okay. I do have an announcement. Kathy gave me this. To my quilting family, one thing, your card isn't nearly enough to thank this group for the enormous amount of generosity that has been and continues to be shown to me. Everyone has stepped up to donate, not just monetarily, but with your time and energy. I can never, ever thank you all enough. Love to you all. Kathy Tade. Thank you, Kathy. We're just glad that you're safe and well and here. Yes, it could have. So we're glad for that. All right, anybody have anything for the good of the guild? Okay, then we're going to adjourn this meeting. We're going to take first we're going to, let me get my page turned. We're going to do our show and tell. And again, make sure that you're talking to the mic. And if I could have 2 people to come up here on stage and hold the quilts, that would be great. Tall people, preferably.
I'm Dot Collins, and I know some of you saw this on the Facebook page, I think before I had the border on it. Next year, one of the classes will be doing One Block Wonder with a panel, and that's because that's what I'm teaching, and that's what this is. So by the time that class comes, there's so much fun and just something different and exciting. So be on the lookout when you find a favorite panel. You'll need to buy 7 of them. And that's what this is a sample of. This was a panel called Awaken. And cut up 6 of the panels for the blocks around that you need a total of 7. 1 that you're going to leave whole and 6 that you're going to cut up. Okay. Oh, thanks. That's good. Thank you. And then one of the B's that I'm in, the Tuesday Cosettes, which was the group that we used to meet at Liddy's, so she named us. And now we meet at Melissa's. And we did an exchange. Y'all don't have to fold. It doesn't matter. Just wad it. We did an exchange of some blocks called yarn bomb trees. And then our rule was these will be in the quilt show. Our rule was that you can do anything else. So I wanted my trees to have birds and birdhouses to go with them. So I did this last week at the retreat. And I was thinking I would just do a striped border around. And my sister said, it would really look good if you would just sew those strips that you use for the trees together. So I spent 3 days sewing the strips of the trees together and made that border this week. So lots of fun and part of the quilt show next year. So everybody has a set of trees, and we're all doing something different with them. There were probably 8 or 9 of us, 7, I don't know. Enough for a category, I know. So she is, and I think she has a set of trees too. Yeah.
I'm Carol Taylor. I can't remember if I showed this or not, but it's finished now. Because if you saw it before, it was not finished. We had a challenge in Happy Scrappers to do what's it called, a Bloomin' Nine Patch, and I've done a Bloomin' Nine Patch before, and I didn't want to do traditional, so this is what I did. But I got to tell y'all, I'm sorry, what? That's okay if you can't remember if you showed it. Some of us probably can't remember if we've seen it. Okay, for you on the video, y'all didn't get to hear what she said. She said, it's okay if you don't remember if you showed it, because there's a lot of us that probably don't remember if we saw it. Okay. No, wait a minute. I wanted to tell them about it. I'm not through with my tail. Okay. So anyway, I want to do mine different. And when you do a regular one, it goes around. And you have to have so much yardage for row 1, so much yardage for row 2. And I didn't want to do all that. So anyway, we went to Painted Pony one day, and I thought I wanted to try this experiment of rather than do y'all know how you do? Y'all know how you do, how you pick your fabrics? Okay. I just wanted to see if I could just make a collection of fabric work, okay? And we went to Painted Pony, and they have that little room in the back with the sale stuff. And I thought, well, let me just go back there and see what they've got. I went back there, and on a shelf was all of these fabrics. So they were on sale, and I liked them together. So I just got a yard of every one of them. Anyway, I went home and I just cut them all out. And when I got them all put together, it was this wide and about almost twice as long. So it was either buy more material and make it wider, so anyway, I ended up with 2 really nice table runners out of the deal. Okay, that's enough of that one. All right, this one, I just grabbed this morning to show. Cindy, this is for Cindy. She had posted on Facebook something that she had on her long arm that she said it talked to her. Well, that's what this one does. See, Cindy? I knew you would. I knew you would. Uh-huh. I bought this at one of our auctions, and it was a Tide quilt. And I got home, and I started peeking around, and there was another quilt inside it. And the other quilt was, it was gone, There was no saving it, and it was pretty ugly anyway. And I quite frankly, I don't know what I did with it. I've looked for it because I can't believe I have no idea what I've done with it. Anyway, I took it apart, and it needed some minor repairs on it, and I did that. And the back on it is the original back that was on it. So I put the back on it and had it quilted. But I just love this. It's just funky, That was the original back. Yeah. Anyway, it's one of those things that just speaks to you, Okay. It is.
I'm Peggy again. I have done several, and this one I just finished, and I thought, well, I'm going to bring it and show it to you. T-shirt quilt that I did for a friend. And to me, it was, Tolly, my husband, told me that he thought it was one of the prettiest that we'd done. It just had so much color to it. I really liked it. And so I think she's going to be real happy with it.
Okay, I'm Connie, and some years ago, Jerry Kelly Domain brought me a whole box of African fabrics. So I used a lot of them just to play around with design and composition. They are UFOs. I don't know when and if they'll get done, but there's hope because now when I go on retreat, that's all I work on are UFOs. So there's hope there. This one had mostly Indian batiks and African fabrics combined. And this one was mostly African fabrics, which was kind of fun. Like I said, it was just, what do you do with these fabrics? They're so bold and busy, and I just loved them. And I thought, well, I'll just try to design with them. So a lot of the elements that are like on these dancing ladies, those all came from different pieces of African fabric. And then I just drew out the ladies myself. So that was fun. Like I said, it was a design opportunity. At home now, we sold our beach cabin, which means that my family room now is a serious man cave. So I decided that I was going to put quilts in my man cave, since I have to live there too. And so I created these 2 wall hangings, and I wanted sort of a tapestry look. So on the quilting, I added a lot of straight lines and then added just back and forth slubs and waves and tried to give it sort of a tapestry effect. And then fringed it with the beads, which I thought was kind of fun. Looks like I might have lost a bead somewhere. Fell off. I do. And I can see one of them right there. So maybe there's hope we'll find the other one. Here it is. Where did you see one? Right there.
Yeah, the thread popped.
Yes, I think so. Well, on that one, they were not anchored really well, so. And this last one I made in the early 2000s, one of the last retreats that we went on as a guild over to Westlake. And this was one of the early improvisational quilts that I did, where every design on there is an improv, right down to the boats and the palm trees and some of that. And I brought it because it's our theme, Life's a Beach. I started it and made it, and then when our son rebuilt his old cabin that went down in Ike, it was called Time Bandit. They built a new cabin, painted it lime, and they called it Top Shelf. So this went into Top Shelf until he sold out his interest in it, and then it came to my beach cabin. Now it's at my house. So anyway.
My name is Paula, and this is a Dream Big panel, and it's double wool batting, so it gives it a lot of texture. And I had been seeing them on different groups on Facebook, and I was in love with them, but I really wasn't sure that I could do it, but I thought I'll give it a try. And I was surprised at what you can do when you try. Yes. Thank you.
The double wool was a perfect choice. Look at it pop.
Thank you.
Wow. Awesome. Good job.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
Oh, I should have shown the back.
Hi, my name is Kathy Tate, and I was digging through some stuff that was given to community service from the garage sale. And I thought these would make really cute mini quilts for the silent auction. And then Paula just handed back a quilt that was a community service quilt. And if you look, here, these are cheaters. This is cheater fabric. And look how I thought that when she showed it on Facebook, I thought, oh man, that's beautifully pieced. Yeah, turn it around. And then the back is cheater too. That is gorgeous. See, now you know what you can do with it.
Quilting is
Yes.
Okay, I'm a little nervous, y'all. Anyway, this is just the quilt top that I made in Lisa's class, and then I put the border around it. And so I just wanted to share it with y'all. I have a bunch of baby quilts that I just finished up, but I've mailed them off, one of them to Colorado, and a friend of mine picked up one with Winnie the Pooh in it that I made. So I just wanted to share this with y'all. Thank you. Thank y'all. Oh, it's for my mother-in-law, too. I'm making her for her birthday and old Mother's Day.
it's fun to give them away.
Hey, here I am again, Carolyn Slack. And I told Cheryl that she was going to laugh when she sees my show and tell, because she thinks that she was the jacket queen. But in honor of Laura, from the 90s, probably 90, what, 5 or 6, something like that. We did a jacket exchange, kind of like a round robin, passed it around, and different people did different things. And my theme was the African fabrics. Look, it doesn't even really close anymore. But I thought, because of the program today. So, what? Yeah, at least I can still put it on. Oh, did you check the shoulder pads? Did you notice that? Huh? Funny. Anyway.
One big one in there? Okay. Is there a top? Is it directional? Is there a top? No. Okay.
I'm Sue White. I'm also a happy scrapper, and this is my blooming down patch. Crystal Little quilted it for me.
Oh, that's right. Lisa had one. You have one too, don't you? To show? She has.
This is from Dot's class, and it got bigger because my husband liked it, and he said it's got to be queen size. So you'll notice it doesn't have a bottom border because I had to order more fabric. So eventually it will have a bottom border. So you can just drop it. And so Dot has had a big influence on my sewing life here. So she was giving away fabric one day, and she gave away this panel. It was these little girls playing dress up and doctor, and so I have a friend. Well, it's really my daughter's friend, but she just had a little girl, and she named her Charlie. So I thought all this brown kind of looked like a Charlie. Anyway, so You know, sometimes quilts are a joint effort because Linda Matthews and I had bought this pink peachy fabric at the boutique one year, probably 4 or 6 years ago. And so I ran out of it also. And so I had to call Linda and say, do you have any of that fabric? And she said, maybe. And she had just enough for me to finish. So. How is that?
You dropped your mask, by the way, on the floor, just so you know.
For those of y'all who know me, you know that I haven't really gotten to sew in almost a year. But I was here for the class. Was this in February? March? This is our March teacher class that I somehow finagled some time to be here for the class. And mostly because I have said almost my whole quilting career that curves are my nemesis. I just avoided them, was scared of them, tried a few times unsuccessfully on my own, and pretty much had written them off. And so when this class came up, I'm like, okay, this is my moment. And so I looked through my fabric and found some fabric that I said, okay, I have no emotional attachment to this fabric. Whatever happens, happens with the fabric. I'm not going to be disappointed. I'm just going to learn how to curve piece. But because they were fat quarters, they worked together, threw in some solids, and voila, I'm not scared of curves anymore. Plus, it's fun. The grandgirls will get it.
Be a great blanket for them. All right, anybody else? Okay, we're going to take about a 10-minute break and then come back for Laura Cassmore. Okay, ladies, if you'll take your seats, Susan is going to come and introduce our speaker.
Okay, if I could have your attention. Okay. It's my pleasure to introduce our speaker today. She was a member of our guild and still is. She was born in Port Arthur, Texas, and now lives in Houston. She is a quilt artist who has been quilting for over 20 years. She holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in telecommunication from Texas Tech University and an MLS in library science from Texas Women's University. She's a practicing Christian and a 39-year member of Delta Sigma Theta sorority. She's been quilting for over 20 years and has worked her way into being listed as one of the premier quilters in the USA. As a quilt artist, she has exhibited in various quilt shows, local and across the country. She has also held solo exhibits of her work in Port Arthur and Lake Charles, Louisiana. She has exhibited in Charleston, South Carolina, Lawrence, Kansas, Tuskegee, Alabama. She utilizes primarily African fabrics, designs, along with her love for black and white fabrics. Her works display her love of faith, culture, and love. Family heritage plays a major role in the artistry of her work. The talent she brings comes from generations of women who express themselves with the needle and thread. Laura provides custom quilt service and is always working on multiple quilts for commission, exhibit, or sale. Laura's techniques have evolved from studying the quilt works of artists she admires and experimenting with looks to present a custom work. In her spare time, she can be found frequenting resale shops, reading, card playing, or sharing her knowledge of quilting with anyone who will listen. She's a proud mother of one daughter, Lauren, and 3 grandchildren, London, Stephen, and L'Oreal. So it's my pleasure to introduce Laura Casmore, and we might need somebody to hold quilts. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can everybody hear me? Or do I need to hold this thing? Okay. Let's see if we can hold this. All right. I'm going to talk for a few minutes, and then I'll get you to hold it, okay? As I listen to that bio of myself and say, wow. But I am honored to be here in what I call my guild, Golden Triangle Guild. I want to first thank Doc Collins for entrusting in me and believing in what I do to come and stand before you guys today. This has been such an honor. In fact, the day Dot asked me, Rhonda and I had came over to Dot's New York beauty class. And on the way here, I told her, I said, I want to be the featured quilter at the next Golden Triangle Quilt Guild show. Didn't know Dot was going to ask me to stand here today and be the featured quilter. So I thank Dot. I thank my guild. I am Laura Marie Casmore, a quilt artist out of Port Arthur, Texas. When I moved back home to the Golden Triangle, Dot was actually the president of the guild. So that's how long, for those of you that's new, I'm not new. I've been in the guild a long time. Long time. But just a little background, as my bio said, I come from a family of quilters. My mom was the quilter that was the utilitarian quilter, cutting up clothing, piecing them together when we went to school. We had to come home and stitch the quilts together, and in the daytime, she would tie. That's the quilting that I came from. My grandmothers were embroiderers. So my family has always did needle and thread. I've always sewed. For us to get a new outfit, we had to do what? Get fabric and make it. It wasn't so easy as it is now to just go and buy something at the store. But Mama would buy us a pattern. She would buy us thread, zippers, fabric. We sewed. So sewing machine has always been in my household, you know. It's always been in my household. Fast forward to 20 years later. I was working in Houston, Texas, where, as it says, actually, my residence is Port Arthur, but I live and work in Houston, Texas. So I was working in Houston, Texas for Internal Revenue Service, and they start broadcasting about the quilt show. Like, wow. I'm looking at these quilts and saying, I want to do that. So I would leave on my lunch break. For years, I would do a half day, and I would just go down there to the convention center. I got to where I started feeling comfortable enough. I started taking lectures. I started with the Greater Houston Quilt Guild. I took a little hand quilting class. But every year, I would go and marvel at the quilts. And how long ago that was? It's when the quilts at the quilt show were in between the vendors. So everybody knows that was a long time ago. When they would have the quilt show, the quilts would hang in between the vendors. They weren't separated like they are now when you go to the quilt show. So that's a long time ago. But the quilting bug had caught me. It caught me. I started buying books. I started buying fabrics. I started buying tools because that's what the books tell you. You know, we as quilters, we buy everything it tells us. How many repeats of rulers do we have? I tell people my favorite look is the flying geese, but you won't see them in my quilts. I can't make it. I've taken flying geese classes. I have about 5 flying geese rulers from different people. It's not me, but I love the flying geese. I love the quilts where the flying geese is swirling and doing all of that. I love it. One day, I hope to make one. One day I hope to make one. I hope to make one. So as I start going to the workshops and everything, I was in Chicago one day working, and bus passed me. Quilts of Faith Ringo. I got that quilting bug, so in a strange city, I caught the subway and the bus in the evening and went to the museum where this quilt show was at. And I walked around it and I thought, I want to be able to do that one day. I want to be able to tell my story with a quilt. So that started me really on my, I guess, quilt artist journey. I don't think I've made it yet, but I'm there. You know, I call myself a quilt artist because that's what I am. I'm that quilt artist that does not want to conform to the quarter-inch seam. I don't want to conform to only using cotton fabrics. I want to do what I want to do with my fabrics. So to me, that makes me be the quilt artist that I am. My style is basically bold. If a friend of mine see me with a pastel quilt, they will probably say, that's not Laura. You look at my quilts, bold. You know, I'm bold, I'm ethnic, African fabrics, Australian fabrics. I like the modern day, the geometric fabrics and everything. But that does not say if you make a Silver War quilt, Laura will not like it. I like what you do, but it's not what Laura do. So just because your quilt is Silver War or something doesn't mean Laura's not going to like it. I like it because it's beautiful that you have done it, but it's not me. So I'm not a Silver War person. I'm not a pastel person. I've taken a lot of workshops. I like taking workshops when I can. My most memorable workshop came out of a lady named Judy Hooworth. Razzle Dazzle Quilts. That was a quilt workshop I took in Greater Houston. Judy, in that Razzle Dazzle quilt, everything she made, she put black and white with it. What has become my signature? Black and white. I was talking with my sister one day, and she said, what are you going to have that when people see your quilts? And we start thinking, and I say, black and white. That is me. So I am Laura Casmore, the black and white quilter that loves to quilt with a lot of fabrics, but most of my things, 99.9%, will have something black and white in it. If it's nothing but my binding. That's just me. That's my signature. That's what I like. One of the years, my friends came down to a quilt show. Because when I exhibit in Golden Triangle, lately I've only put a couple of quilts, but at the beginning, I used to put about 10 quilts in a quilt show. I don't do show and tell. Show and tell is hard for me to do, like here. So I always tell people, no, I don't want to show at the meetings. I want to show at the quilt show. So that's when I normally put a lot of my work, and people will see my work, is in a quilt show. But a friend of mine came one time, some friends from Houston, and she said, Laura, your quilt sticks out like a sore thumb. And I said, but this is this friend that's normally negative, normally wants, you know. So, but I turned it right quick on it, and I said, wow, that's what I want. I want when somebody hit that aisle of that quilt show, my quilt draws them to them. So I want my quilts to stick out like a sore thumb. She didn't know what to say, you know, because she thought she was saying something ugly. But I took it and I turned it around from her, you know. But a lot of my inspirations come from books. They come from pictures. They come from other quilters' work. I'm always telling Julie Williams-Vesco, I want to grow up and be like her. I want to grow up and be like Connie Farron. That's the art quilt in her. I want to, at some point, be able to take what they do. What they do is what they do. But I want to be able to take a little bit of what they do and put in my work. Because my work will be my work. I will have something from them, an inspiration, but it would still be my work. I looked at Connie today, and when she held that up, and Vera said to me, have you thought about putting tassels? I said, that's beautiful. So yes, look for it. It's coming. It is coming. It is coming. You know, when I'm stressed, I tell people quilting is my passion now. I used to do crowns, but when I came to quilting, I knew that was going to be me. I knew I was going to put my heart and my soul into my quilting. So a lot of times when I'm stressed, I just need to get a quilt book. I just need to get something that's going to bring me, calm me down, and the inspirations from other quilters' work. That's my stress reliever. I don't need to take a Xanax or whatever all that people take. I can just get a quilt book or watch a quilt program, and it calms me down. That is my stress reliever. That is truly my stress reliever. As my bio said, I have been fortunate enough to exhibit two quilt shows, one at the Port Arthur Library and one at the Lake Charles Library. I'm now trying to do work where I'm putting my work into challenges, so that's how my work has been featured in South Carolina, Lawrence, Kansas, and Tuskegee, Alabama. It gets emotional when I start thinking about it. That's one of the things I told my mom before she closed her eyes. I wanted to see. I wanted to see my work go all over the world. So to see my work start going, I'm very happy to see my work goes to where it is going. Most of my quilts, I do give a lot to family and friends. I do sell quilts, but I'm not that artist to where you come and say, I need a red quilt. I always tell people my custom quilts is that you buy what I've already done. Because I think when you tell an artist what you need, it stifles their creativity. So I don't ever want anybody to stifle my creativity. When I'm creating something, just let me create. Let me do Laura. And if you like what Laura has done, then you're free to buy if I'm selling it. But don't come and tell me I need this. It's gone. You may still be waiting for a quilt. You may still be waiting for a quilt. I mean, getting together for this was like awesome to me because I didn't realize I still had these quilts in my possession because I always try to give away quilts. But I know I have a lot of what I call stage 1 quilts. The tops, I have a lot of stage 1 quilt tops. I call them stage 1, and they just waiting to go to the next stage. You know, I have friends that they saw me working on something, and they'll say, well, where is that quilt? I said, hasn't made it to the next stage. You know, because you work on things, and we as quilters, we work on several things, and we not fall out of love with it, we just put it to the side. And, you know, I tell people I got probably 1,000 tops going in my head. So once I put it down, it may be hard for me to get back to it. But I have my moments, my stressed down moments when I sit there and I go through all my tops. And I start making little notes. This one needs this. This one needs that. What is it going to take it to the next stage? So a lot of my tops, not these that you will see today because I've taken everything off them, they have little tags on them. I pin little notes to myself on what's going to get me to take them to the next stage. But most of you know I am a Harvey survivor. I did lose a lot in Harvey, but I had my life. So the fabrics and the sewing machines and the stuff that I lost, that's just loss, you know. So I have separated my quilts into what I call pre-Harvey and post-Harvey. Y'all ready? Yeah. They numbered. Okay. Gotcha. This first quilt I made, I think 2006 or something. It was like my first entry into piecing, my first entry into using African fabrics. I call it Life is Good. It is 8 ladies, which represents me, myself, my 6 sisters, and my mother. So it is called Life is Good. That's my first quilted wall hanging. Okay.
How do you want us to fold them and restack them?
Oh,
Do
it
you
don't
want the
matter.
labels to show?
No.
Like you have it? You're not worried?
Yes. I actually have 2 brothers. One of my brothers used to come and help us at the quilt show when we would hang up. He lives in Port Arthur. And I have a brother in San Antonio. This is Dresses, Dresses. This was my first exhibit, in a sense, in a quilt show. This was at Rice University, and to win was by popularity. It wasn't about judges, it was about popularity. Laura won. People's Choice? Yes, People's Choice. And this is... So this was like my first thing that, oh, there's a chance I could win something. But it's called Dresses, Dresses. It belongs to my daughter, Lauren. I happened to have a surgery one year, and I thought, what am I going to do while I recuperate for 6 weeks? So I borrowed a quilting frame from a friend. And when I came home, I had already made the top. Me, my brother, and my sister, we would all sit. This is hand quilted. And this is my memory of that event. I call it the 3 L's because it's Laura, Lenora, and Leonard. The 3 of us hand quilted. And it's not black and white, huh? As my bio says, I have 3 grandkids. 2011, London was born, and I made this in honor of her birth as my firstborn. Now, I have a second-born who's 8 years old, and I have a third-born that's 4 months old. They haven't got their quilts yet, but this is London's firstborn. That's gorgeous. I was finding most of my fabrics from the Quilt Festival. Most of my fabrics have been from the Quilt Festival. I've not been one that have ordered fabric because I like to see my fabric. I ordered some fabric recently, and it came in so thin, I was like, see, this is why I need to be somewhere. I need to see my fabric. I need to feel, as we as quilters like to feel our fabric, I need to feel my fabric. This quilt, I get a little teary-eyed on this one also. This is called Nisha's hair braiding. This is from our dear friend Nisha. Nisha always loved to get her hair fixed and everything. And that was, I termed this one Nisha's hair braiding. So this is in honor of our dear friend Nisha. You went to see her in the hospital.
Yes, I did.
Other people did too. I saw her the day she took her last breath. I was there. Okay, this is a real Harvey quilt. My fabric is the ink is fading and everything, but it's called gumbo because this is what I do, just try to do all my African fabrics. So I called it gumbo too. I call it Harvey because washing it and getting wet is all, it's true Harvey. It is true Harvey. The fabrics did, I also, with this particular quilt, I quilted on my embroidery machine. That's Ndinkra symbols. Those are West African symbols on each block. Yep. And Dinkra West African symbols. As you can see, I am wearing one today. These earrings that I'm wearing today is about time change. There's a time change for everything. And today is the change. Okay. Sideways. Royalty 1, 2, and 3. I was up in Kauai, Hawaii. And it came to me, I want to embellish my applique. So I thought, what can I do? Broken jewelry. So when I came back from Hawaii, I just start getting all that broken jewelry and figuring out how could I embellish these. But these are kings and queens, and I call them Royalty 1, 2, and 3. Thank you. The applique patterns that you are seeing, I used from a lady called Jeffy. She was out of Kingwood. So fabulous. This is called African Sunrise, and it's simply called African Sunrise because I love that yellow fabric, and I didn't know what else to call it. So I call it African Sunrise just because of the yellow border. And as I say, I'm also a traditionalist, so this is broken dishes, but with African fabrics. I call this one African dishes. I'm not an artist. I was talking to Connie earlier and telling her about it. I'm not that trained artist, but I can see right there my big mistake, black on black, in the center of that quilt. That's the block that I should have left out, but it is what it is. It is what it is. Love the back. And I think that was one of the things I said, ugly fabric. Yeah. This is what I've showcased also in the Golden Triangle called Faith, Hope, and Love, and it was a quilt I made for a friend of mine who lost her daughter in a motorcycle accident. Here called Square Beads is just another study of utilizing blocks of African fabric. Sometimes you just want to make something and just put it together. That's square beads. Sometimes I get my inspiration from cards. And this was a greeting card I received from someone called an Uncle Lady. And I just chose to make a quote about it. Ankh Lady. A-N-K.
Are these pre-Harvey, post-Harvey, or what?
We're still in pre-Harvey. Most of these quilts were done around 2016 when I had the show for Lake Charles. This is called Imelda's something. Anyhow, it's because the blocks came from a friend of mine. She made all these blocks, and she loved to, when she's bored with stuff, she gives away her stuff. And so I asked her for the blocks, and I called it Imelda's. Now, at this point, and I still do, I've decided if I can find scrappy quilt tops at resale shops or whatever, I like to put them on the back of my quilts. I want, when you see my quilt and you turn it over, you know which one is my quilt. So, so I like to use these quilt tops on the back of my quilts. Now this particular, show the back first of this one. This particular quilt, when we were in Lake Charles, I walked in to see what the hangers had done with my quilts, and this quilt was hanging amongst all my stuff. I said, what? And turn it around. And I was like, so I had to call the curator. My sisters, because I couldn't do it, had to climb on a ladder, and we had to get up there and turn that quilt around. I'm like, how could they think gingham went with all what I had? This is called paisley. For some reason, I love this black and white paisley fabric, and act like I needed to make something, and just something. Sometimes we get fabrics that we don't want to cut. The center of this quilt was that fabric for me. I couldn't figure out if I cut it, which way I was going to do the mass, so I just made the fabric and just put borders on it. It's called Mass 2. And here is my back. Now, one of the things I try to tell people is I try not to put my African fabrics on the back of my quilts, and I try not to put my black and whites. But when you start getting too much of something, go on and start using it, you know? All right, this was my first challenge out of South Carolina. It had to do with Africa, and this is a collaboration. My twin and I collaborate on some of my quilting, on our quilts. And this was one from us. They asked us to do something related to Africa. And so it simply says, when Africa sits rightfully at the world's table, there will be peace. I used the butterfly, utilizing all of the flags of the world. And that is because if you know your history, you know that Africa is a country that is constantly being robbed of its gold and all of its minerals and stuff like that. So it simply says, when you treat them right, then you will have world peace. So until we do that, there's no world peace. But that is my quilt that went to South Carolina and traveled the whole state of South Carolina. Yes, I started trying to dabble in crystals. This one is called Threads. It was just simply, I do love to put wording on my quilts, and it says, nothing can break the threads that bind. This is a Harvey quilt. It's water damage up at the top. But just something, sometimes you want to just make something quick and just put something together. This is called Born Free 2. My Born Free 1 was made on a bed size similar to this, except the butterfly was just huge over the black and white. But this is Born Free because we as butterflies, we want to be born free. We want to get away from the chaos of the world. It's the back. Thank you. Uh-oh, here we go.
Drug it along.
As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. When I showed this quilt top, I have been offered so many times for people to buy it. But it's something about it that I want to hold on to. So I still have it. All right, in Lawrence, Kansas, I was asked to exhibit in a quilt about Zora Neale Hurston. So one of the things that Zora Neale Hurston always says, jump at the sun. Says, jump at the sun. You know, you may land amongst the what? What does it say? So this is Jump at the Sun. This is a collaboration between my twin and I. She designed the quilt, and I put it together in fabric. This is the quilt that has gone from Kansas to Tuskegee, and this summer it is back virtually in Kansas. Oh, you know what? Turn that on. This is piece, but guess what? This was an editor sitter pattern that I tried to make. I didn't like the way it came out. So I don't know if it's my fabric choices or what. So it became a back. Yeah, it's piece. It just became a back. I didn't know what else to do with it. This is called Scrappy Lady. This was another exhibit that I was scheduled to be in Kansas, Lawrence, at what we thought was the first African American quilt show. But I was running late, and I didn't make it, so I went ahead and finished it afterwards. But it's called Scrappy Lady. She wants you to turn it back on. Okay. All right, so now we're to after Harvey. Went to a retreat. I love panels. Turn it, let it get that side. Let me bring it up. The other way. Bring it up. It's simply the Our Father pattern. Couldn't think of what I could do quick to it. I love this fabric. So I said, here we go. So this was a border. This was a border, that's a border, that's a border. And I could simply call it Our Father. It does have the Andinka symbols going around it. I took a workshop one year at Greater Houston. I call this a post-Harvey quilt, but it's actually something I started before Harvey. It was a Bargello class. I don't know what happened to my Bargello. So I call it un-Bargello. I don't know what happened to it. I couldn't get it to do what it was supposed to do. And I thought I had did everything they told me to do. I don't know. So I called it un-Bargello. And this is my quilt that won me my second ribbon in the Golden Triangle Quilt Show. This is called A Family, utilizing the same applique patterns from the same lady. These were in Firstborn. That's the king and queen that I showed royalty. And this is called A Family. So the whole quilt, this is from our Black and White Challenge. Okay, wait a minute, not that one. I'm going to leave that one last. Okay, yeah. We can hold that one up too. Okay. This one. I've lately been, not all of them, lately I'm quilting my small ones, the wall hangings and stuff. That's simply Africa. I've always wanted to do something with Africa and try to highlight all of the different countries. That also was in our Black and White Challenge. All right. Now, I'm not much of a kit person or whatever, but I got the impression that I could do the Hoffman Challenge. Not Hoffman, Cherrywood. I got the impression I could do the Prince Hoffman Challenge. $100 later, this is my entry. Reading is fundamental. I did not read all the instructions well. My quilt was supposed to be dark purple. It's basically a light, but it's all cherry wood. So, of course, I didn't make it. So okay. So this, it doesn't matter. This one, as you see, I still have not bound it. Actually, found it in a bag. That's probably just waiting for me to bind it into the last stage. I forgot what pattern it is, but it's the pattern that a lot of people have seen. If you can see, there are the squares. Wherever. Yeah, I can't remember what pattern it is, but it's a popular pattern. I'm going to talk about these other two, then I'll get to that one. Okay. So over here is my other one. Now, I don't know what happened to my my ribbon, but this is called the engagement. So this is my first honorable mention ribbon out of the Golden Triangle Quilt Show. This was from our Crayola Challenge, and I thought, what am I going to do? But of course, you know, I had to bring something with black and white with it because that is what? My signature. So this is my most prized. When people ask me about it, I quote such a high price because what? I don't want them to have it. So it is mine. Probably will always be mine. The lady that said curved piecing, this is Laura's challenge. There's two things I have been afraid of doing: curved piecing and wide seams. I have never did a wide seam. Don't know if I will ever do a wide seam. But Latifah Safir was coming to Greater Houston and doing a workshop. She is one of the founders of the Modern Quilt Guild. And I said, let me take a class. So this was her class called Molehill. I decided I would do it, of course, my way. When I got to class, I had already made all of these. So when I got to class, I was ready to go to her design wall. She wasn't happy about that. And I'm sorry for those of you that teach classes. When you send that student a pattern, there's a chance they're going to start early. There's a chance they're going to start early. So don't get upset. She acted like she was not upset. But I think I took the class in March or April. Anyhow, at the Quilt Festival, I ran to her booth with my little top to show her I had finished it. And guess what she told her friend? Oh, this is the lady that came to my class with her work already done. So that meant she had a problem with it. that meant she had a problem with it. Now this is I don't know how to say this. Yeah, that's from them. That's the bottom. This is called Texas Queens. This is my tribute to the African American suffragettes. I happen to be in a quilt collective right now, and I am most proud to say, Golden Triangle, this quilt is going to Houston. This quilt is going to Houston. It represents the ladies because a lot of times people think of African Americans and we think way back times they were not fashionable. Yes, we were fashionable just like everybody else. Yes, we were prominent people. Most of the suffragettes were your church leaders, your civic leaders. So they are standing on the name of clubs, African American clubs in Texas. This is my quilt, Texas Queens. They say, oh, I'll be handing y'all this. All right, let's see what my time at. Okay. Talk about stage one. I'm going to show y'all some tops. This particular top right here, I solicited some friends for when I turned 50. I stand here today 61, getting ready to be 62. I think I put this together maybe about 2 years ago. So still has not been quilted. It is from my quilt friends, from quilt retreats, from wherever. They all made little sentiments for me at 50. So that is Laura's quilt. Okay. This particular top is from a card my sister sent me. I thought it was so beautiful. I'm going to make a top. Look what shape it's in. Still in the same shape. I worked rick-rack on the hair. I don't know what else to do. So, huh? Yeah. I guess that's the next stage.
It's ready for phase 2.
It's ready for phase 2. No, from projecting it. From projecting it. All right. COVID. I did a lot of sewing just like everybody else. I did a lot of sewing in COVID. I have a lot of books that I want to get rid of, and I've told myself, make at least one quilt out of that book before you get rid of it. This is one. Okay, I think it's upside down. It's upside down. COVID, I was very fearful. I stayed in the house a lot, and I sewed. That's a panel from somewhere. Just cut it up, threw some fabric with it, quilt top. I think this is from a Pat Sloan challenge. What you call them things here? I Spy or something? I think the challenge was to make one each day or whatever, 30 days or something. So that's what that center was. It's the stage 1. Yeah, it's in the center. It's I Spy. This was simply some fabric that I got years ago at Quilt Festival. I have a nephew that graduated, and so I thought, I'm just going to put some fabrics together, make him a quilt top. Hasn't been quilted, but he'll get it one day. It's simply drums and hands.
It's his, even if he hasn't gotten it yet.
Yes, it's his. This particular top, I showed y'all Imelda giving me the blocks. Well, Imelda has a sister called Terry. Terry is just like Imelda, so Terry gave me this because Laura liked black and white, right? So Laura just decided she would put this on it. Make a black and white top. Simple. That's out of my COVID. And normally when I take a class, I don't even finish the top. I was so excited when I finished Texas tea, black gold Texas tea, out of my New York beauty that I've always wanted to make. I was excited when I finished it. I don't know where I'm going with it, Dad, but that is my black gold Texas tea from the workshop. There's a lady, I think her name is Gudrun, did a sew-along. Like I say, during COVID, that was a sew-along. Made it in a day, just did the sew-along. And this last one is Storm at Sea. I quilted it actually at my friend Vera's house. I came in one weekend and just sit there and sewed. Storm at Sea. Don't know where it's going. Don't know if any black and white is gonna get on it, but it's Storm at Sea. Yes. So I'd like to end by showing you guys this book. This is the book called 1.6 African American Quilters. This is the book that Laura Casmo is listed in as one of the up-and-coming quilters. This book has been out about 10 years. But I just want to say to you, Golden Triangle, I thank everybody for encouraging me, for letting Laura do Laura. You know, because I remember when I first started quilting, and I go to a class, and I got my little African fabrics, and the teacher would say, It's like, okay, this one gonna be a challenge. Evidently, that's what, I felt like they were saying, but that didn't stop me because I kept going with my fabrics, my fabric choices. I remember doing an applique class and, pastel flowers, whatever. And here I've got African fabric, trying to make a tulip. It is me, it is me. I don't know where this quilting journey is going to take me. I'm looking forward to seeing, I'm always open to learning new things about quilting. So therefore, I'm always interested in my workshops and just online and everything, because it's like Saturday, I'll be taking part into the, what is it called, Susan? The quilt? There's a Zoom thing on Saturday and Sunday with like about 18 quilters teaching their techniques and everything. And I want to sit there and see, what can I learn? I remember going to classes at first and I leave class and say, I didn't learn anything, but I had. You always learn something if it's nothing but one thing out of class. It took me a while to learn that, but there's always something you learn. So I love to, I know we tired of Zooms and everything by now, but that's what I'll be doing Saturday. I will be looking at Zoom Saturday and Sunday and just seeing what new techniques. Global connection. Oh, okay. So it's online. There are some awesome presenters. There are some awesome presenters going to be presenting, I think from 3 to 6. Saturday and 3 to 6 on Sunday. So you just have to look it up, Global Connection, and go and sign. We were fortunate that Greater Houston paid for our entry into it. So all we need to do is click into it. Do I have any questions?
Did you ever go to Shamrock Hotel when they had the quilt show there?
No. That was
Maybe that's what you were talking about the quilt center.
That's before me, Shamrock. No, I started with GRB.
Once a long time ago, I went to a quilt program that the lady said that when you said you always do black and white in your quilt, and she said when a man makes a quilt, he almost always puts a piece of black on it. That's just something she had noticed. I just wanted to.
No, I didn't. But I tell you, Golden Triangle, I'm looking forward to this because this is going to be Laura's first challenge. To do something without black and white and to do blue, this is going to be my first challenge. But guess what? I'm going to meet it. I'm going to meet it.
No black, no white, no green,
Yes.
no brown, no.
It simply says no neutrals allowed. Yes, and I will meet it. Question? Oh, I forgot to tell you guys that not only do I do quilts, I'm also doing anything about fabrics. I was big into fabric postcards. I ran out of Houston and left my fabric postcards. I was going to display all these fabric postcards. I do wearables. And as Vera said, this is me. Oops. My necklace, I actually got it out of New Orleans, but my quilting group in Houston actually started making these with the, what you call it? The cord and fabric wrap. Right. So this is one, but I purchased this one out of New Orleans. My fabric is old. I basically would get my fabrics from a friend of mine that would come to the festival and sell. And I said earlier, I bought some fabric recently from another friend. It was so thin, I need to see my fabric. So I probably won't buy any more until I can feel it.
Have you visited Africa?
No, I have not.
Laura, it's probably been 2 years since I've been there, but Fashion Fabric in Houston, the last time I was there, had a pretty nice, I have a good collection,
Uh-huh.
but I had a pretty nice selection of that.
Where are they at?
Downtown Houston,
Oh, you're talking about high fashion. Yeah. Well, I laugh when she say high fashion because my friend that I was buying from, he used to sell the high fashion. So, yeah. So they have a good quality. Yeah, they have a good quality of fabric. After the quilt show, we would load up my van and go to high fashions and get rid of what he didn't sell at festival. So that's why I know high fashion, where they're getting their fabrics from, and it is a good selection. Any more? Well, I want to thank you guys.